Welcome to another episode of the Keep Making podcast. Today on the podcast, we have Haitham Ramadan. Did I say it right?
You got it on the first try. That's,
Sweet. So, Haitham, we are in Polytek's conference room in Easton, Pennsylvania. What is it that you do here at Polytek? Like, what is your job title? Let the people know what you do for Polytek.
So I do inside sales and tech support.
Okay.
But really, I do a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I find myself doing anything from research projects upstairs to helping customer service, more on the customer service side. So a lot of times it's whatever people need of me.
Okay.
I kind of fill in the blanks.
Very cool. So inside sales and then tech support. So Polytek has a boatload of products.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking just briefly, and you've been here for about a year and 8 months.
Yep.
I think is what you said. I've only been at my job for like 4 months, and I'm completely overwhelmed by the amount of products that we have that I'm like marketing. And that's just me being very candid. But I'm super curious. Like, it seems like you can navigate those pretty good. I mean, we were doing projects upstairs, and you knew what we needed before we were even kind of there with them. So it seems like you've kind of dove in head first.
Yep.
Maybe talk to me about some of the products and some of the ones that you love more than others. Or things that you just like to play with. Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we actually did upstairs, the bronze casting was pretty cool the first time I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the life casting stuff is really cool. Kind of seeing real world applications is my favorite part. So I do like taking time to do that upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a product that I like more than another. It kind of depends on, it's more so the application that I like more than another.
Cool. Well, let's dive down there. So, like, when it comes to applications, like, I mean, life casting for me, like, we just casted my hand. Mm-hmm. I've never done anything like that, and the level of detail that came out, and my knuckles are a little bruised because I was really pulling on that sucker. But like, it was unreal. I've never done anything like that. So, maybe talk to me about life casting and why you like that more than, or like why you like it in general.
It's just kind of not to kind of take away from the other applications. Concrete is kind of straightforward, whereas life casting is changing a lot quicker, a lot faster, a lot quicker, a lot more often. There's more things you can do. There's more experimentation. So I actually represented Polytek at the Trans World Trade Show.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was like walking into Halloween in like April. It was the weirdest thing ever. But it was awesome because I could look around and be like, oh, that's where our product's being used.
Awesome.
And all the different things that can be done, from masks to full figures that are animated. It was pretty cool. So I think that kind of stands out to me as an experience. It's kind of I had never seen anything like that all in one place, and kind of being able to see really
kind of like Comic-Con, like on that kind of scale when it comes to what's it called again? What was the event called?
Trans World.
Okay.
It's in St. Louis, which again you're walking outside, things are normal, and then you walk inside, it's like a being in a haunted house. So they had a dark room. It was pretty cool. So I think that stands out to me, and kind of all the different things that they were able to do with our products is kind of what catches my eye.
Mm-hmm.
Concrete is a lot more straightforward. It's you kind of run into a lot more issues with kind of the different materials that are being used. So I do like that end of it also, kind of the problem solving, but definitely experimenting myself. Definitely the life casting stuff.
Cool.
Is what stands
So
out.
have you made any molds of like your own hands, or have you like made your own costume? Have you like done any like crazy, like, well, I did my whole upper body or something like that? I don't know. Like, have you done anything like that with the life casting yet?
I haven't actually. I actually want to do it, but I've done it as part of demos.
Okay.
Like the one we did upstairs, where I've seen it being done with other people and kind of what it looks like.
Probably helped with the whole process and helping other people get theirs. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that's kind of where I learned. It's more so of seeing it being done and helping do it rather than it being done to me. Because if it's done to me, then it's being done to me. I'm kind of
You're the guinea pig,
enjoying the process. Yeah.
Right.
Whereas if it's being done on somebody else, I'm kind of there to make sure everything goes right.
That's true.
That's how I kind of it becomes more of a learning experience that way.
I was gonna say it's probably a lot more educational if you're the one that's actually doing the application
exactly.
instead of the one just sitting there like I was, where I'm like, well, I'm just sitting here for a half hour now.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you do on a regular basis is customer service and a level of like when it comes to like technical service, like because of all the different chemicals that Polytek makes and all the different products. There's about 1 billion different applications that people could use them for. Talk to me about the process of figuring out how you can help someone solve their problem within the different applications, and then just within the different products, because you're doing this on a regular basis, and you might not necessarily have the right answer when someone gives you a call.
Yeah.
So help me unpack some of that and your experiences with that, because I think it's an insight into how people approach the different products.
So it's never about having the answer, I found. It's more so about having the questions. So knowing what to ask the customer, which would then help me narrow down what the issue could be down the line. So I might not know everything, but asking the right questions, and especially when I first started here, it was kind of, I had to first pick up what to ask the customer and then tell the customer, hey, I don't have the answers for you now, but you've given me the information that I need to kind of do research and get back to you. And that's kind of where, that's how the process becomes down the line as well, because as I ask questions, I'm not looking for a specific answer. I'm more so narrowing down the possible issues that a customer might be having. So
right.
Just by asking if they're mixing it by weight or volume, I already know, that's out of the picture.
Right.
So if they're saying they're mixing by volume and it's a mixed by weight product, I've already solved it.
Right.
If I haven't solved it, it still eliminates a lot of the, okay, maybe it's not human error, maybe it's something else. So just knowing which questions to ask, and then kind of knowing in my head who I'm going to ask these questions to afterwards helps me give that person the information. So when I first started, it was Bill in the video, and the demos upstairs that we did. Bill was kind of the person that I spoke with a lot, and I'll transfer a customer over and actually listen to the call rather than just transfer it over.
Right, because it's your own little education then.
Yeah.
And Bill's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, 14 years.
Yeah.
So
he's got a little bit more knowledge going on.
Absolutely, and he's done a lot of hands-on stuff, so it's kind of like he's seen it himself. So yeah, just knowing the right questions, messing stuff up myself upstairs. Definitely, that's the first thing I'll remember. If a customer does something that I remember messing up myself, I'll be like, oh yeah, I did that.
Hey, I've done that before too.
Yeah, I still do it. So
yeah. I've only got to experiment with different products very little at this stage, but I've definitely already made mistakes. I think it's just part of the learning curve when it comes to even entering this space. I think it's a learning curve if you're trying to do anything new, period.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure that everyone, especially in a new job, and there's an old saying that a friend of mine said, John Williamson, you're the first year at your job, you don't know what you're doing. It takes at least a year for you to even have some clue of exactly what your job even is.
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, even if you're an expert at what you do, how you apply that to whatever new context you're entering into just takes some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even Bill, he's been here for 14 years. I hear Bill say, I don't know a lot. You know what I mean? Because there's applications that we've never seen our product being used in. There are people out there being creative with kind of the different ways you can use our materials. So I'll hear him say, I don't know a lot. And then it's kind of the customer will either experiment on their own, or it kind of raises questions for us to experiment. So maybe we'll take it on and experiment upstairs.
That's awesome. So you said that your customers, might have applications that you guys have never heard of. What's one of the more wild things that you've heard that people are using your product for that you're like, what?
Oh, that's tough.
It probably happens on a regular basis, and that they're probably ranked in different ways. But maybe just give me some that you really stand out for you. And it doesn't have to be your most favorite or whatever. It's just oh wow, I didn't know that you could even do that, or I've never heard of this application before.
Gee, that's a good one.
Because I didn't even know that you got for instance, that for me, for context for Polytek, when I first heard the the industrial side and the level of which making molds so that you can put concrete on the side of buildings. I was just I didn't know that that's how that happened.
Yeah,
I didn't know that that's how you got the different looking brick, but it's actually concrete and it's just this giant mold that was used to apply something. I was just what? I had no idea. So that kind of stuff for me is wild.
One that comes to mind, the first time I heard it, I was pretty surprised. I think someone called in and they were looking to make like edible marijuana products in our molds.
Okay.
And I was on the phone like, okay, I guess that works. Like,
right. I mean, our molds could be used to make something like that.
Yeah. And so that kind of caught me off. I was like, and now it's funny because it'll catch you off guard the first time, and then you'll start seeing it become a popular thing. So now that's becoming very popular. Now a lot of people out there are looking to make edible marijuana products in their molds.
It's becoming more legal in random states all over the U.S. Yeah.
People are trying to get things to bond to all sorts of things, and it's like, it may bond, it may not. If you try it within a certain amount of time, maybe it'll bond. If you do it this way, because we haven't tested every application.
Right. So when you say let's unpack bond, because I don't know what you mean when you say bond.
So. Okay, so
I'm gonna. By the way, I don't know a lot, so I'm like Bill. I'm like
I
don't
know a lot.
Yeah.
So typically you don't want our products to bond other things.
Okay.
So that's why there's release agents. That's why there's all sorts of stuff, right?
Right. You want my hand to come out of the mouth. Yeah. Exactly. I don't want that to stay in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Or whatever you pour into there, you want it to come out as well.
Right.
So a lot of people don't. A lot of people want it to stick for whatever reason. They want something to stick to another. And I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I get that a lot where people are like, "Hey, if I pour this onto this, 4 months from now, will it bond?" I'm like, I don't really know.
Right.
It's worth a try. I mean, from what I've seen, it might, based on if you pour the same material onto each other, maybe.
Okay.
But it's things like that where it's things that we haven't really, haven't seen it being used like that, where it comes out, and people are trying to do it, and it comes down to being creative and experimenting, and once it becomes a big enough thing, then we start to kind of do some testing on our end. So
cool.
Food grade or molds that complied to specific CFR
like FDA.
codes.
Yeah.
That was a recent thing. We just recently, some of our products became certified under CFR 2600, I want to say off the top of my head. Don't quote me on that. So that became a thing recently because more and more people wanted to use our molds for edible marijuana products. So
right. And by the way, you can do more things than just edible marijuana.
Oh, yeah.
There's these molds you can, like chocolates,
yep.
fondant.
And that's actually, some people use it as like the baking pans instead of using the metal ones. They use rubber.
Right.
Candles are made from our products.
It's kind of crazy. Like whatever you can kind of imagine, you can actually make with these different products and these different rubbers and polyurethanes and everything. It's
and then there's just a ton of random things out there, from car mats to golf tees to if you go sledding, a lot of people have tried to use that part in their sleds somehow.
Really?
I've had someone that wanted to use it for kind of like sailboats, like on the edge of sailboats, and I was very confused. So it's like you can use it for a lot of things. So it's one thing that I'm experimenting with is, and it's actually it was me and my girlfriend, and she was very interested in it, and she's trying to make see-through bags.
Okay.
Like hard epoxy bags.
Okay.
And
like movable? But like rigid?
Could be movable because you can encase different, like you can encase sand in it. You can encase like dried flowers or so forth. So she kind of came to me and she was like, "Hey, I want to try this." And I'm like, "Oh, okay.
Well, like why
cool.
not?
Like let's give it a shot." So
how's it going? You guys are probably still in the experimenting phase.
Yeah. We just got the original to make the mold out of.
Oh, cool.
So we just started it.
That's
exciting. That's an example of kind of how our product can be used for so many different things, and people are just...
You just got to kind of dream it up and then like try. Yeah. That's really cool.
Fail at it some more, and then it eventually works out. And
that's awesome. Oh, you got to let me know how that goes, because I'm super curious how that's going to go. That's really cool. So So this natural bend of like being okay with just trying things. So for instance, like even on this podcast, like we just met today.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you existed until we walked into the building at Polytek. But like you were very down to just like hop into this podcast, even though some people got nervous and didn't know what it was about. And I'm looking at you right now, even though you got sent the links. But anyways, no, just giving you crap. I think that willingness to kind of just dive in, it doesn't naturally. It's not natural for everybody to just do that. There could be a lot of fear or reservation when it comes to like trying new things. I mean, even heck, the first time I ever did a podcast interview, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to fail so bad. Luckily, it went well. I was like, the second I did, I was like, why was I scared to do that in the first place?
Yeah.
So for you, how have you gotten comfortable with like the unknown? Because that's really what at the end of the day what this podcast is about. It's like, how do people create their way through life? And how do they like, exercise this creativity like a muscle, and like they get cozy in this zone of like, well, I don't know how to do that, but I know I can try, because not everyone does that, and I think there's a lot of fear and trepidation and all that kind of thing. So for you, how do you feel like you got cozy with the unknown?
I think it just becomes about like what's the worst that can happen, right? Like I'm here with you, I say a bad word, you're gonna edit it out. Like what's the worst that can really happen from me venturing out of my comfort zone? So when it comes to doing stuff like that bag, like what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to spend some money on some product. At the very least, I learned something. And that's another thing. It's just the want to learn. Whether it's here or in my personal life, if something kind of intrigues me enough, I feel the need to do something with that intrigue, right? So so being on a podcast, like I've never been on a podcast. I probably never will be again. Like
never say never,
right?
Yeah.
Unless it's with you. Like I'll probably end up on another one of these. But so it's kind of like intriguing. Like, oh, what would that feel like to be on this podcast, or what would it feel like to make this Lifecasting, or how would it look, or So that kind of gets me out of my comfort zone and kind of pushes me to try new things. It's the benefit far outweighs the risk always. So it's kind of like if something goes wrong, what's the worst that can really happen from me messing up this mix ratio? Like nothing. I'm just going to mess up this mix ratio and then buy another one. Like it's, that's kind of what gets me going. There's no real risk. It's really all in your head kind of sometimes. And it's just that initial push. And then you always end up looking back like, wow, why did it take me so long to push myself to do that? So that's kind of what it doesn't happen overnight, but that's kind of how I ended up feeling more comfortable just doing new things or learning new things or being in a position where I don't know anything, right, and just learning about it. So
I think that's awesome, man. I think honestly you said it really concisely. The benefit far outweighs the risks, and I think that is like honestly way on the money, especially when it comes to like if you're starting something new. And like I even like how you even phrase it when it comes like what's the worst that could happen, and like I think a lot of people might get hung up or like, well, I'm gonna get fired,
right?
Or I'm gonna lose my relationship or all of those. I was like, well, the reality is if you're worried about those things in the first place, you might have a bigger problem on your hands. Like if you're worried about losing your job, but you might not be good at your job, like that kind of thing. But like the reality is like what I'm hearing from you though is that you're the reward of learning through the process of trying, you can't really beat that, which I would fully agree with because, I mean, that's the only reason that I'm sitting where I'm sitting today. Right. It's just that really the willingness to kind of dive headfirst into the unknown and be like, I don't really know what's at the end of this road, but I know that I like it and I know that I love it and I know that I want to keep going. So it's like,
it's also confidence too, to throw that in there. Sorry to.
No, that's perfect. Please jump in.
Confidence is the other. It's just knowing that whatever I try, I'm either going to be good at it or I'm going to learn something about myself. So it's just being confident enough where, putting myself in these uncomfortable positions, I'm confident enough in myself to know that it's going to pay off for me one way or the other. Either I'm going to learn it and be good at it, or I'm going to learn why it's not for me, right? So I feel like at least I have to try. I owe it to myself to try something And it starts with kind of the confidence that I have in my own abilities. So
You're going to make a friend out of me in like no time with everything that you're saying. So like, where did this self-awareness come from? Like, cause like that's some hardcore self-awareness of being like, well, I know myself. And like, if I put myself in an uncomfortable situation, I know that I'm still going to learn something. Like,
right.
I know I'm just repeating back what you just said, but like I want people to understand what the frick you just said, because it's good. And the reality is like that takes some self-awareness to like know that about yourself. Like, ooh, historically, like if I get up in front of the class and actually give that speech, I'm gonna get a little bit more confident in my ability to like just dive into the unknown or whatever it could be. I don't know anything about your life before now, so like everything's new. So I'm super curious about that. That self-awareness. Have you always been that self-aware?
No.
Was there like a turning point for you where you're like, ooh, yeah, now I know that when I get uncomfortable, I actually learn a lot.
Yeah. I can't pinpoint a time where I wasn't always like confident in myself or self-aware. It took building on it. Like I had to build that up. It wasn't something that I just had like right off the jump. I had to really put time and effort into that. But like you said, self-awareness, and that's really what it is. Just being, I evaluate myself. Like I evaluate myself, and I'm the hardest person on myself that I know. So I like everything that I come across or everything that I accomplish. I evaluate it, and I kind of evaluate what I did to, put myself in that situation. Did I step out of my comfort zone? Okay, I did step out of my comfort zone, and this is what happened. So seeing that happen and being able to evaluate it rather than just be like, oh, I just accomplished this thing, I try to take a step back and look at it from a kind of a bird's eye view or an outside view and say, these are the things that I did that got me to that point. So this is what I need to keep doing moving forward. So it's really a lot of self-evaluation. It goes for things that I didn't accomplish and I failed. Like, why did I fail?
There's so much good lessons in those ones that like everyone's like, oh, you failed hardcore.
Right.
Yeah.
So it comes, and failure again. It's people get hung up on it, and I still do. But it's something that I've learned to kind of accept and run with in a way. Did I put myself in that position? Am I uncomfortable because it's something that I need to work on? Like, is it something that I need to do differently? All these things I kind of evaluated myself. And so I just got kind of comfortable with putting myself out there, or doing things that I've never done, or not knowing something and just giving it a shot because I've seen it work for myself before. So I kind of know that it's bound to bring good things to my life.
Yeah.
So.
I appreciate you saying that, and honestly just being candid to do it. Because you were, I'll tell you what, when I remember very much like mine switching, like I've always been kind of a confident person, but then I definitely had a turning point when my first son was born. I mean, like it was like a lightning bolt and also like a punch to the nose of just like, why do you care so much about what people think? Like, and it was very clear, like that was the thing that I was like worrying about on some level, and I was like, I don't want my son to worry about what people think. Why am I worried about what people think? And for me, there was like this really big turning point after that where I legitimately, it kind of started like in my late 20s, but like I still cared kind of like, underneath the surface. Like everyone does this, I don't care what people think. And then they're like, I really want you to like me though. Like that kind of thing. So, but like legitimately after my first son, William, was born, there was this like whole other fire that was lit inside of me of like, oh no, I legitimately don't care because I don't want to put that on my boy, because like people carry this around all the time, really worried about things that at the end of the day do not matter on any level. Like whether the clothes you're wearing, like how you look, the car you drive, the house you live, like all this stuff that just at the end of the day is like pointless, like legitimately pointless.
Yeah, and
so
that's actually when it comes to all that, it's part of being creative. I mean, you're being creative every day, so the clothes that you wear, you're being creative in that. So just own it. Like,
right.
Who cares?
Yeah. And if you like it,
then just screw
that's
it.
it. Yeah, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
There's too many people in the world to try and impress, I think. So
yeah, and also like at the end of the day, like they're worried about their own stuff.
Yeah.
They're not worried about you on any level.
Yeah.
So why are you worried about it?
That's true. We all kind of feel like the world revolves around us, but it doesn't really do that.
It doesn't.
You kind of, I don't know what it feels like yet, but having a son, that's kind of like what it becomes. It's like your world now revolves around your son.
Oh yeah, and also like real quick, I realized how like selfish I was as soon as I had a boy. I have 2 now, and I was like, I was so selfish in my 20s. Holy cow! Like, legitimately, the world does not revolve around me on any level. And the second there's someone else, you're like, oh, this is a better dynamic even for me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
wow, I'm not gonna be such a selfish prick anymore. All right, cool. All right, well. One of the things that I do on the podcast with every single guest is I give them a chance to ask me a question, because I feel like it's only fair when, you know, I'm sitting here just pestering you with a whole bunch of different questions that you can ask me one. So I'm planting that seed now. I'm going to ask you a few more, but then you can ask me one as well.
Okay. Thank you for not putting me on the spot, because I was
you got scared. Yeah, you're like very much.
Oh no, I wasn't.
I'm not ready for this. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. You know, I don't really put people on the spot. So. I did want to ask. I do want to ask you what your favorite thing is about working at Polytek, though, and I really mean that, because I think one of the goals of this podcast, outside of like unlocking creativity for people, is like also to show people what it's like to work for a company like this. Because like at the end of the day, I work for Polytek too. I work for the consumer division. It's a little bit different, but the reality is we all still work for the same company. So. For you, what is maybe one of your favorite things about working here? And this is definitely, like, I'd want you to be honest. This is not like, I'm not telling, I just met him today. He has no idea what.
Who's watching this exactly?
Jonathan probably will watch it at some point. Yeah. But, like, tell the truth. And, like, the reality is, like, I think telling the truth will go a long ways.
There's a couple of different aspects. One, feeling the satisfaction of helping someone else solve a problem. Knowledge is wealth, right? And we're just, we're here to spread that. We're not.
And you're just like lining these suckers up and just knocking them out of the park,
guys,
man.
Come on.
Jeez. He's a natural at this.
I was nervous before too, man. No, just like everything that we know, it's only limited. It's limited if only we know it. It's it's meant to share with the world. So
helping people really.
So helping people for sure. Helping people see something for the first time, or oh wow, this is how it works, or a project succeeds and they come back and they thank you for it. Definitely that aspect. A customer that calls upset and you kind of like switch their mood. That's always fun, because it's always like they call and they're pissed and they're my product didn't work, this product sucks, like, and then I'm like, okay, well, let's troubleshoot it, let's try a couple different things, something works, and you kind of feel their mood switch, and
they're like, ooh, yeah.
Like, that I love that. That's probably one of my favorite things. Supporting a customer for sure. A lot of times, customers are lost because they don't have the support they need. They call and the person they're looking for is either not there, or not giving them the answers they need, not being straightforward. So knowing that we do that for people every day is probably my favorite aspect, alongside the stuff we do upstairs. Definitely, because the world is changing every day, and being able to see these changes and then bring things into the the mezzanine upstairs and just play with it and test it and see how it works with our product and what we can do. Those are probably my two favorite things, which is awesome. Really everything about my job.
Yeah, there it is. That's awesome. The cool thing, like, since you keep answering so honestly, I'm like, man, I can't just like let him just tell his side of this and not share my own. Like the reality, like when I first started working here, I was like real nervous, because I was like it seemed too good to be true. They're like, we want you to build a team that's going to create content that will help people make what they want to make. And I'm like, what? Yeah, and then we want you to put it on YouTube and put it out on social media and all over the world, and then you support our distributors as well. I'm like, you're going to pay me to do that? Like, okay. And then like once like you kind of always waiting for the other shoe to drop, this can't be real on some level. And that's very much I'm like, there's no other shoe. I'm like, I'm literally just doing what they're paying me to do. Am
I being pranked right
now? Yeah, I feel like I'm being pranked right now. So it's a really cool place to be when you actually enjoy what you do and actually feel fulfilled by it, because I really do feel like I'm helping people. I really do feel like I'm being creative. I really do feel like I'm like putting things out in the world that are going to benefit other people. And I'm just like, let's go. Like, I'm going to keep doing that as much as I humanly can with the time that I have. Like, why wouldn't I? Like maybe the other shoe will fall someday. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. That's
Right.
definitely not like above my head or anything like that. So I'm going to keep going.
It's a pretty sneaky shoe.
Yeah, it's a real sneaky one if there is one. But I don't think it's there. So that's good. And I've grown to trust that more and more as time goes on. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm like a hardcore millennial. Like I'm 33 years old. I grew up in the era where like if anything had even the remote word of corporate in it, it means it was a liar. And it wasn't true, and like there was no good people. That's just not true. I mean, like at least at this company, like the reality is like there's a lot of really good people, and not to say like there aren't mistakes or people don't mess up or things like that. Like duh, but everyone that I met are like super genuine and super nice and actually mean what they say, and then they follow it up with their actions, and that's where I'm just like, what the frick?
Everyone here cares, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, what is happening? Because like it's the other shoe, I'm just
What
like,
is this
it's got to be fake at some point. And I'm like, I'm smelling for the bowl, you know. I'm like, and I'm like, there's no bowl. What is? I'm like almost frustrated, but that all of my hopes and dreams are actually real. But it's true.
So. No, yeah. It is rare. Everyone, I think you have to care here. Like,
yeah, I don't think you'll survive.
Yeah,
you would not survive.
There's no way. Like everyone here does everything. Everyone does, like when we say like marketing, that person does everything. Like everyone, it's a small team, so everyone kind of carries a lot on their shoulders, and if you don't care, you're not gonna survive that.
Right.
Like there's no way.
Right.
So it's good to see in it. Like it's very contagious in a way. Like everyone cares about each other. We care about what we do. So yeah, I feel the same way. It still hasn't happened. It's
isn't that cool? And you've been here longer than me, so I'm like, all right, I found another person that's like it's the same thing for them too, and he works in something completely different than I do.
And he sees the same thing. This is bizarre.
It's wild.
No, but yeah, things work out in the end. So
yeah, I would agree with that. So now you've had some time to think of a question. I gave you some leeway, some heads up. Do you got one? And it could be anything. And like I'm not one of those people that's like going to be shy. And like unless you're like, want to know my like the worst thing I've ever done or something. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you.
What is the worst thing you've ever done? No, well, we just met, so really any question. I could
you
really
can literally
ask
ask anything
right now.
and it'll be new information for you.
I guess, geez. How did you end up here? Like, how did you, like, where?
Yeah. Before this job, I spent 5 years in a production agency. I worked with a bunch of my really good friends that I've known for literally since I was like 16. It was a really good job. I was a producer. I managed projects from like one-man band size all the way up to like $500,000 commercial productions. Like, I mean, and that's not like an exaggeration on any level. Like, I was just at a house yesterday where there's these little outlets that pop out, and they're Legrand outlets. I helped produce a commercial for Legrand in my previous job. Like, I was just like, oh, hey, I know those outlets because we made a commercial for them, like that kind of thing. So I did that for 5 years, and then after that time, I lifted my head up, and there were some changes happening at the company. So I was like, it's time for me to move on, and it's time for me to find something that's a bit more just different for something that would be a little bit more stable for my family. Like I wasn't ready for the changes that were happening, and I didn't really want to stay in that environment. So I was like, what's out there? And I like reached out to my community of friends that were in the town that I live in, and a friend of a friend knew Mike Foppel. And me and him had a phone call, and that was the very first time that I was like, this is the job? Really? Like that kind of moment. And he's like, yeah, can we meet tomorrow? He's like, or I think it was like 2 days later, he's like, can you come down here and meet us? And I was like, yeah. Like I met him in person, and then like there was just like these series of like serendipitous events that seemed too good to be true. And then that's how I got this job. Like a friend of a friend referred me. Super great interview, super great in-person interview. And then he gave me a verbal offer within like a week. I think it was like a week and a half, maybe.
The more you tell me about this, the more I see why.
You see where I'm just like, this isn't real.
This doesn't happen.
No, I was like, this doesn't happen.
Guys, please don't get your hopes up. This doesn't happen every day.
You see what I'm
sorry.
saying? Like literally everyone on my team's like kind of like, our jobs. I mean, Jordan said it while we were doing the casting. He's like, this isn't a job. He's like, when are you? People are paying me to do this. Like,
okay, when does it really start?
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, like, we are definitely working our faces off, and I literally am, because like, I have a cold sore on my face. It's like very obvious. It's gross. But like, we all love what we're doing. And I got here from like, I mean, I also like, I know social media, I know online marketing, I know the where people's attention is currently, and like, you know, the closer you can get to the customer, the more you're going to win. And right now, I know where a lot of people are spending their time and attention, and I know how to make content that's going to draw their attention. Yeah. So it's very mutual when it comes to like what the consumer division needs and like what I can provide. So it's not like I'm just like sitting here like, oh, I don't have anything to offer. Like, I'm like, oh no, like I can actually like knock this out of the park. But it is still like, how is this possible? Because like I live in West Michigan. Yeah. How, this is a job in West Michigan? What? These are maybe like on one of the coasts, maybe. But no, it's pretty cool and it's pretty exciting.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I got here. Did I answer? Yeah, I answered it.
That
okay. Cool. It. And like, if those of you that listen to this, I don't know if I've answered that question before, but if I had, oh well.
He probably has, because again,
everyone that's generally on this podcast is like, who the frick are you, and why are you interviewing me?
Yeah.
What business do you have asking me questions? And I'm like, they're letting me do what I want. Like, so
even though it was very easy for you to get me to do this, like you were just like, hey, you want to do it? And I was like, okay.
I was like, I didn't twist your arm at all, which was great.
I was like, okay, I'll do it.
I got one more question for you, and then we can wrap this sucker up, because we've been chatting for a little while. Creativity. So in general, we've kind of like hovered around it, and I think you mentioned it when it comes to the things you do on a daily basis. How have you found creativity benefits your life? Like, how does it benefit your life? And whether it's like, do you find that it makes you a better boyfriend, a better employee, a better son? I don't know. Like. Help me unpack for you what creativity means, because it's very clear that you get a lot of satisfaction from helping people when it comes to customers, and like that's a creative muscle being flexed, because it's not like you're being presented with like a step-by-step solution. You like got to like actually listen, really wonder, and come up with solutions, and that's not like A plus B equals C. It's very much like how am I going to navigate these waters? And that takes creativity. So what does that mean to you?
It definitely, well, first off, life is never bland, because I'm just always thinking creativity is a natural thing. So it's almost like, and we all have it. It's not like it's a natural thing and some people have it. We all have it in a sense. It's more so some people choose to make the most out of it. And it's just, it keeps things from being bland. Definitely with my relationship, with my friends, like, we're all pretty creative, so we're all very open to trying new things and just doing things that we've never done before. You're going
to be able to tell your friends you were on a podcast.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Depending on how it comes out, though, I might tell them about this, and I might not. We'll see how that goes.
I can tell you right now, this is a good podcast.
No, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But it's just fun. Like it's just fun. I don't even have a deep answer for this one. Like it just makes things fun. My version of my personal life creativity is that I'm always trying to. I'm very into music and media in general, and I'm always trying to use that in my personal life. So at parties, because I still party, right? I'm only 25, so I still.
Okay. I was gonna say you are younger than me.
Party.
Yeah.
So at parties, I'm always trusted to bring the music.
That's cool.
And
that's a fun position to be in. You're the DJ.
There's a lot of pressure sometimes.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pressure.
I gotta study up on people and what they like to listen to. See, that's where the creativity comes in. You just answered that for me. No, but I gotta kind of take all these different tastes and see what people like to listen to. And I've always wanted to like try my hand at a DJ set, but I've never really got around to that. And it's something it's gonna happen. Like it's one of those things where I'm just gonna push myself to do it, and it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna be like, okay, this worked out.
Oh, you're gonna crush.
But for now, and because I'm not gonna show everywhere, like to these little parties with my DJ set, right?
Right.
I edit music files the way I want it to sound in person. So I've heard songs that kind of sound the same, or a song that samples another song, and I'll like put the two together and have it transition into each other.
Nice.
And like when people hear it, they're like, "Oh my god, like this is," and it's just fun. It just brings a fun aspect to it. It's more than just it's a step above just listening to music at a party. It's like I actually put this together.
You're bringing some taste to it for sure.
Yeah. So it's just it just keeps life entertaining in that way. So it's like that's about it. I don't really couldn't really put that into a deep phrase. But
no, dude, you answered the question extremely well. And like in general, I just want to thank you for being on the podcast. I think you've absolutely crushed this, and especially for being thrown in like literally last minute.
It was like this morning. They were like, hey,
so you're gonna be on this thing, and you're
if
like,
I were to ask you to do a podcast, would you do it? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I would do it.
Yeah, I mean, like you no joke. I really do appreciate your time on this, and it's been really a pleasure to get to know you a little bit more. And I'm gonna have to like get your information so that we can stay in touch. But like, I really appreciate your time, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And same. This was a great way to get to know somebody. I think
so too.
We're gonna be good friends.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I also agree. Cool. All right. Thanks for listening.